Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to today's webinar by Asia Water 2020, entitled The Third Malaysia Netherlands Water Dialogue 2020, with the theme Enhancing Better Environment Sustainability Through Water Innovation, brought to you by the Netherlands Embassy in Malaysia with the support of the Ministry of Environment and Water, or CASA. Before we officially begin, please take note of the following reminders. All microphones and videos of the attendees will be automatically muted. If you have any questions to our speakers, please type it on the Q&A box, which you can see at the control panel section on your screen. We will select a few questions that our speakers could answer during the Q&A session. Should there be any internet disruption during the session, please be patient and try to sign in again. You are invited to meet the Dutch delegation virtually. For more information, kindly visit the Netherlands Embassy virtual booth at the Asia Water and the D2 Match platform. And now, to start the session, please welcome our moderator, Yang Berbahagia Datuk IR Abdul Qadir bin Muhammad bin, President of the Malaysian Water Association.
Thank you, Mr. Al, our Master of Ceremony for today. His Excellency Mr. Art Jacobi, Ambassador Designate Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands, Mr. Henk Ovink, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs, Kingdom of the Netherlands, Yang Bahagia Datuk Sri Zani Ujang, Secretary General, Ministry of Environment, Water, Malaysia. Prominent speakers, Datuk, ladies and gentlemen, Bismillahirrahmanirrahim, Salam Sejahtera, and a very good afternoon. For those from overseas, our counterparts from Netherlands, I would say very good morning to you and welcome to this third Malaysia-Netherlands Water Dialogue, the Kingdom of Netherlands, organized by the Kingdom of Netherlands and Ministry of Environment, Water and Malaysia. I would like to recap that the first edition of this dialogue was dated back in 2018, respectively, during the first visit by the Ambassador Madam Karen to the Secretary General of our Ministry, Energy, Green Technology and Water on 6 December 2017. This historical visit marked the birth of the first Malaysia or Netherlands Water Dialogue in April 2018. The objectives of this dialogue was then to foster integration and build bridges between the two nations in spearheading the development of water management and transfer of knowledge in water and wastewater industries. The second edition of Malaysia-Netherlands Water Dialogue was to inculcate the spirit of cooperation in the areas of flood mitigation works, implementation of a proper water footprint methodology, exploration of the usage of groundwater, and good awareness on public programs in reducing water consumption from to 180 liters per capita per day with a target by 2030. Apart from that, the Inner Water Consortium and the Dutch company Royal Haskoning DHV discussed the application of NERIDA technology in wastewater treatment. The third edition today is in conjunction with the Asia Water Conference and Exhibition 2020, where both nations could work together again. In conjunction with this dialogue, we have selected an interesting topic on the groundwater that's related to the current COVID-19 pandemic to be presented by a lot of prominent speakers. So today's dialogue is set on the theme Enhancing Better Environment Sustainability Through Water Innovation, which we will focus on another tap for our raw water source and the current COVID-19 viruses in the sewage system. I now wish to invite Honorable Ambassador, His Excellency Art Jacobi, for his opening remarks.
Good morning and good evening to all attendees joining us from this region and from the Netherlands. I'm pleased to welcome you to the third Malaysia-Netherlands Water Dialogue held in conjunction with Asia Water 2020. This event is an annual collaboration between the Netherlands Embassy and the Ministry of Environment and Water in Malaysia. The Netherlands is well known worldwide for expertise and cutting-edge technologies in water management, water treatment and flood defense. The successful partnership between the Dutch government and public and private organizations has created an excellent ecosystem to develop new technologies. As we face, however, the global pandemic, we are all compelled to be innovative and to embrace the new normal. In this context, it is important to mention that the Netherlands is currently leading the way in wastewater testing for the detection of COVID-19. In today's session, we will obtain some insights on a current research collaboration between Malaysia and the Netherlands in this area. I'm optimistic that this water dialogue will serve as an inspiration for collaboration and business partnerships. Before I conclude, I would like to convey my appreciation to the Ministry of Environment and Water in Malaysia and to our moderator and speakers for your support in this webinar. I thank you for your presence and I look forward to meeting you again in future events.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Your Excellency, for the warm opening remarks and a good scene to start the dialogue today. May I now invite Yang Bahagia Datuk Sri Zani Ujang, the Secretary General Ministry of Environment and Water Malaysia, to deliver his keynote address. Yang Bahagia.
Doctor, you have to unmute yourself.
Hi everybody. It seems like we are having a bit of a technical difficulty with our Secretary General for the keynote address.
Okay.
So, Dr. Kadri, can we move on to our next speaker, please?
Can we, it seems that we have that problem, slight problem. Can we now invite Mr. Hen Ovink, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs, to deliver his keynote address? Mr. Hen?
Okay. Does this
Thank
work?
you. Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Loud
Good
and
afternoon.
thank you.
Okay, you can
Yes.
hear me. Okay, that is fine. So sorry about the technology. We all experience this. Secretary General, Ambassador, good afternoon in Asia. Good morning in the Netherlands. It's not that early. It's already 9 a.m. I used to get up very early, but I was not that early this morning at the opening ceremony of Asia Water. Then it was middle of the night, but I was there with a recorded message, pressing the importance of water for sustainable action, for resiliency in the context of climate change, and of course for better health. So that was an honor and an opportunity. Today in this panel, you will discuss the topics of groundwater and collaboration in water research, both critical important for water security and of course in the context of the current pandemic, COVID-19, it's of critical importance too. Assessing the presence of COVID-19 in sewage systems, research plays a critical role. Worldwide, our economic growth, our population growth, urbanization, climate change put a lot of pressure on water security that is only increasing over time. And problems with water, too much, too little, polluted, are becoming more widespread and more frequent. And groundwater is a valuable water resource we have to take care of, but we don't around the world. So there is not only a challenge, but I also see an opportunity. Early detection of COVID-19 infection is important to prevent the spreading. And we all learned during this global pandemic, prevention pays. It saves lives, saves our economies, and protects better health. Wash your hands, we say. Wash your hands, we say. Water is of critical importance, a first line of defense. But for so many billions around the world, that opportunity is lacking. But it's great to see that water research developed methodologies for detecting COVID-19 and can help us stay safe. So water as a first line of defense in washing your hands and in hygiene and sanitation facility, also in the context of assessing sewage system, help prevent the spreading. Of course, we hope the vaccination will start and we'll be able to work together also more physically. But for now, this digital environment is of critical importance too. Connecting minds for a sustainable future is the theme for the Dutch virtual mission to Southeast Asia, to the 5 countries, Malaysia, Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and Vietnam. And about 30 companies of the Dutch water sector participate in this virtual mission. Companies on water technology, on delta technology, on research capacity, all across all issues of water in the context of sustainable development. And connecting minds, the theme was not chosen for nothing. It is what we want to do and need to do in practice. And it is what you will do in this 3rd Malaysia and Netherlands Water Dialogue. It's very important to share knowledge and best practices and see collaboration and partnerships. Governments, businesses, knowledge institutes, NGOs, all play an important role. And it's good to see that business and knowledge institutes are already involved in the 3rd Malaysia and Netherlands Water Dialogue today. The challenge in water is huge. I don't need to convince you. We're believers, we understand. We also have to understand we can't do it alone. There are no silver bullets, but there are also no single focused solutions, neither approaches that can go alone. We need to collaborate and help each other to tackle these challenges. They're too big to do it alone. Referring to Secretary General Guterres of the UN, when he spoke in September and urged the international community to work together to improve global governance. He said, this is a time for science and solidarity. Science by research, by understanding, by our capacity, and solidarity with empathy, but also by collaboration and inclusion, leaving no one behind. And collaboration is what we do in the Netherlands. 4 ministers of the Netherlands collaborate and developed in Netherlands International Water Ambition. Its main objective in the broader context of the SDGs is to increase water security and water safety in the world of humans, plants, and animals, to optimize our contribution to this to these challenges around the world and bring in our capacity, our excellence, but only by partnership. Also, the Netherlands can't do it alone. We've learned it through hardship. Collaboration, partnerships, and a good level of governance are critically important. Climate adaptation is at the heart of our Netherlands International Water Ambition. Its strategy is to achieve, its objective is built on 3 pillars. Strengthening local capacity through partnerships, here we go again. Adopting an integrated, comprehensive approach to water safety and water security, and promote and help
Hello, Dr. Kadir. I believe Mr. Hank Owing is having technical problem. Would you like to
Okay.
take over?
Okay. Sorry. Okay, Mr. Hank is back, I think. Mr. Hank, are you with us?
Yes, here I am.
We seem to have lost you just now because of some technicality. I think because of the network or the internet. We would like to continue.
I hear you.
So, yeah, can you maybe since you're around, maybe you can continue.
Okay. Can you hear me again?
Yes. We hear you. Yes.
Okay.
Please continue. Yeah.
That's okay. I will continue and wrap up.
Yeah.
I was with climate change. Partnerships, SDGs, climate, partnerships, and of course, clean water and sanitation. Clean water and sanitation of critical importance in the current pandemic. Water is a valuable resource, but water is scarce around the world. And our population is growing, but our demand is even expanding with our economic growth and food dependency. We experience these extremes, floods and droughts, also in the Netherlands. So we really have to be careful with the water we have. And groundwater is a valuable water resource. It's about quantity and about quality. So valuing that natural resource is of critical importance. In the Netherlands, Rijkswaterstaat and our water boards are charged with the water management in the Netherlands. Rijkswaterstaat is the executive branch of our ministry. And the regional water authorities are among the oldest forms of local water government, some already dating back to the 12th century. Responsible for water safety, water quality, and quantity. Water manager is responsible for the prevention of floods. And in addition, we must ensure a sufficient volume of groundwater and surface water and keep water quality up to par. In the mid-19th century, we had a pandemic, a cholera pandemic, and it learned us in the Netherlands that it's not only about keeping the water out or having enough water, but also that water quality is of critical importance for human health, but also economic health. We benefit. So we have to ensure that water is available for all in the right quality and quantity. And it's in our constitution, but it's also in policies on and laws on, for instance, housing, that we safeguard water and sanitation for all. Quality standards to groundwater are recorded in the Dutch decree, the law on quality standards and monitoring for water, connected to the EU standards. They're based on the European Water Framework Directive and the European Groundwater Directive. Climate change and population growth are challenging our ability to provide clean water for our needs. They're only growing. Surface water and groundwater are both important. So with droughts, with pressures on the quality of water, and the extremes with more rain events and floods, the context of water is changing over time. I understood that the quantity of groundwater in Malaysia is plentiful, but that you don't utilize it that much. Surface water is the main freshwater resource. But in the context of the challenges we face and you face, groundwater and surface water are of equal importance. And safeguarding that groundwater for polluting and over extraction is going to be critical important for water security, also in Asia. And if you take groundwater out of the soil, your soil subsides and your economy cripples. So next to all the impacts on biodiversity, real importance is a balanced mix of utilizing our natural resources. Well, Asia is of course a test bed for climate action. This is where climate is hitting the world's economies and populations hard. It's also where we have to partner to safeguard the future of our planet. And we've been collaborating at government level, business to business, and with researchers across Asia for a long time. And the countries present in the Malaysia, in the Asia Water Conference are of course critical partners in moving towards sustainable action. I developed myself program over the last years in India, Bangladesh, and Indonesia called Water as Leverage, using water as an enabler for climate action and sustainable development, and finding opportunities in the cities of Chennai, Khulna, and Semarang. But there's more. We work in Indonesia, Deltares with the Veen en Bos and Royal Haskoning developed a comprehensive strategy for groundwater management. In Semarang, the Water as Leverage program with the University of Amsterdam and IHE Delft on ground-up research project. We have the Dutch water operators. Wij are involved in the Water Works program, enzovoort, enzovoort. In Vietnam, we work on Delta Safety, Deltares, Wageningen University, Nederland and Schuurmans, again Royal Haskoning, are involved in the Partners for Water program about freshwater availability in the Mekong, University of Utrecht in the consultation workshop. I could go on and on. Dutch water sector partners from knowledge, industry, businesses, engineering firms, and so forth, researchers, work together with local and regional partners to firm up water security action for all. And here in Malaysia, we were present in 2018 with the Dutch risk reduction team to investigate the floods in Penang. And of course, our ocean cleanup work is working on the Klang River in Malaysia, as we are here with consultants, researchers, and businesses alike. So water security is of critical importance for better health, for economic security and opportunity. And at the heart of water security stands collaboration. The Netherlands and our Dutch partners are not only ready for that partnership, but we are already there. We reach out to all of you to find novel ways forward. And I urge you to help scale up and replicate these novel ways forward, because we need your capacity, we need your action, and we need the scale to address water security for all. I want to thank you to combating these challenges and finding opportunities in the partnerships. Wish you a lot of inspiration today and a lot of success in the years to come. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Heng, for the very positive notes on the dialogue and the way forward to accept the water challenges through sharing of knowledge and the collaboration and partnership. You have shared your wealth of knowledge, which I am certainly sure that we can benefit from it, from this dialogue. So we have some technical problems, but nevertheless, we are trying to get hold of the connection now to get our Secretary General online, and we can be back on track. And just be patient for a while. But meanwhile, while we are waiting for the connection, I would steal the time to say something about this dialogue. We have divided this dialogue into two sessions. The session one will talk about the groundwater, and the session two will talk about the collaborative research that we had with the Netherlands in looking at COVID viruses, COVID-19 viruses in the solar system. In view of the interest of the time, I will not read out each speaker's profile, but you can go and find it in the Asia Water Program virtual platform, where you can find all these prominent profile of the speakers there, and can get in touch with them. We will have another session maybe for the B2B to get this done. Okay, we have got our Yang Bahagia Datuk Dr. Srizani Ujang, the Secretary General, Ministry of Environment and Water Malaysia, online now. So he will deliver his keynote address from the Malaysian side. So Yang Bahagia Datuk Sri, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Datuk Kadir. Excellency Ars Jacobi, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes. I think they can hear you. They can hear you.
Okay. Excellency Ars Jacobi, Ambassador Designate, Embassy of the Kingdom of Netherlands. Excellency Hans Obik, Special Envoy for International Water Affairs, Kingdom of Netherlands. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning, Netherlands. Good afternoon, Malaysia. I would like to share my thought on few subjects that we were trying to share with our participants. Can we share my slide, please? Okay. I would like to talk about water sustainability. In particular, when we talk with our colleagues from Netherlands, we would like to learn from them the innovative way to manage water in particular. Next, please. Next. The outlook, can you go back? Okay, the outlook for water security in Malaysia is very challenging, I would say. We are expecting to have water supply shortage by 2040. And we would like to really learn fast to ensure that this is not happening, due to the fact that water infrastructure require about 10 years planning ahead. If you want to overcome issues that we are expected to happen in 2040, it means that we have to do it now. 20 years is a very good timing for us to plan ahead big initiative. And we know that climate change is a real thing. We experience drought, flooding, and this is the month of floodings in Malaysia. Many places in Malaysia are now at risk of flooding. Big floods occurred in 2014. That's very severe. And we are also done some studies that indicating seawater intrusion is happening in some places in Malaysia as well. As far as demand is concerned, population of Malaysia will be growing another about 9 million people, from 29 million, it's about 30 million now to 38.5 million by 2040. So this is very alarming. And we realize that our water infrastructures are very aging in nature. We started building our dams, water treatment plant about 50 years ago. Prior to that was during a colonial period, and we have to replace them now. Replacing this water infrastructure at one go is very, very costly. Then we have to think about the quality of water that we have, the quantity and the continuity. The major issue in Malaysia is non-revenue water, which is about 35%, more than 35% at the moment. We want to reduce them to 25% within 10 years from now, and that requires a lot of political will and effort as well. Of course, it is very costly. We are also struggling with our systems to be more effective on pollution control. I think it can be done more easily if we are able to solve the governance issue, particularly on sustainable financial model. And we would like to improve efficiency of what we are doing, as well as ensuring our water catchment is not degrading through public participation and appropriate tariff structures. Next, please. Next, please. From sectoral perspective, we still have issues on raw water resources, insufficiency during drought season in particular. We don't have summer in Malaysia. We have dry season normally between July, October, August, and September of the year, except this year. So we don't have that issue this year. We hope not next year as well. Pollution at the water sources, this is common in developing nations such as Malaysia. Not all residential and industrial premises are sewered. And therefore, it is very porous in terms of pollution control. Unlike many countries I've been to, particularly in Europe, in Netherlands, if, for example, your premises are well sewered. In Malaysia, despite we reach 80% of the population in terms of residential premises are sewered, but the 20% creating a lot of difficulties for us to maintain our water resources. And low reserve margin means that our margins in the system. I'm talking about in the system. Whenever we extract the water to the system through our water intake points, there are very little available that can be stored, and this is alarming. In case we have some issues on the quality of water resources, we have to shut down our water intake in particular. They will cause water supply disruption in the system. Next, please. Next, please. Siapa yang jaga slide ni? Next slide, please. Okay, we are exploring groundwater potential in Malaysia. At the moment, about 3 to 5% of population in Malaysia are depending on groundwater in places like Kelantan and rural area in Malaysia. But we realize that groundwater is not fully understood. Therefore, a lot of difficulties for us to migrate to have groundwater as a source of water sources in many parts of Malaysia. Next. Next, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Okay. So that we have to maximize or optimize our groundwater potential. This is to mainstream groundwater usage into the water sector conjunctively, and this can be done through various instruments. Say for example, we have to have some kind of proper regulation to govern groundwater, and what is the best practices for groundwater. And we have to study on the seepage and seeping of areas that groundwater is fully utilized. We have also to develop a basin study on groundwater mapping in particular. Next, please. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. We experienced a lot of flood episodes recently. This is due to the change of land use. We know that there are 4 ways to do it. How on flood mitigation, source to sea approach, which is natural, impact-based flood forecasting, which is also important for us to have a better forecasting at the moment. So the issue in Malaysia, probably our accuracy of weather forecasting is to be improved. And we also would like to have flood water harvesting smart tunnel in particular kind of approach to be enhanced in Malaysia. At the moment, Kuala Lumpur is well protected by a smart tunnel that can delay the arrival of water from various sources to the city center of Kuala Lumpur. And then we also would like to have a proper prediction on weather conditions, as well as analysis towards a weather-ready nation. Next slide, please. Next slide. Yeah. So the critical success factors, I believe, for innovation to take place in Malaysia, innovation is not in the context of doing research, laboratory research. Innovation here is what policy is to be implemented, to be adopted, and then what kind of big decision to be made. One, I think, is on financial models. I keep on telling people that let's solve this financial model first. Without a proper financial models, we are depending solely on subsidy from government, and sometimes government are not able to give all what we require. So the system must be able to stand by themselves. Yeah. Then we have to have effective governance. I think there are rooms for improvement on this, and we have to have systemic efficiency in terms of delivering services Say, for example, in the context of non-revenue water, so we have to be more efficient to reduce from 35% to 25%, for example. And countries like Netherlands, I am very sure their non-revenue water is less than 10. Yeah, so if you have water pressing, the first thing we have to do is efficiency, get it more efficient. And then by doing that, we will be depending on the existing water resources because it's sufficient if you reduce by 10% for the future 10% demand in terms of increment. Yeah, public participation is important and political will as well. So these are 5 major critical success factors going ahead. Next, I have another 2 or 3 slides. Next, please, slide. Next slide, please. Sebab kali saya control lah slide ni. Yeah. I had an opportunity to be Secretary General that in charge of water and energy a few years ago, and this is my analysis. When you compare business model in water in Malaysia, I'm talking about Malaysia in particular. It is called subsidized basic utilities. Government put a lot of money, whereas energy is full cost recovery. Government not even spend a single cent on energy every year, and yet energy in Malaysia is cheaper than neighboring countries. Yeah, yet energy in Malaysia, I mean talking about electricity in Malaysia is one of the cheapest in the world in terms of tariff per certain amount of electricity we use. Why? Because we allow that to happen. We get the most efficient in terms of funding, the most efficient in terms of technology that we can employ. Tariff setting mechanism now in water is still political, whereas in energy sector is incentive-based regulation. So we are now changing. We have put forward a proposal to Cabinet of Malaysia. They have agreed on the what we call tariff setting mechanism, but the date of implementation is yet to be decided. Regulatory framework is very federal state kind of negotiation, whereas for energy is fully federal. So what is important here, the greenhouse gas emission is still very low if you take water as water. But if you take water as part of the, sector that use a lot of energy, and we have to calculate, it's not 3%. Yeah, so this is something that we are now trying to understand. And this, because of this business model, the industry size is 20% compared to the energy sector. Next, please. Next slide. Next slide, please.
We are losing the line actually.
Okay.
Dr. Sri, are you still around?
Okay. Okay. Or maybe KSU wrap up je lah. KSU wrap up.
Is Dr. Sri still around? We are losing you actually.
But maybe
You hear me?
Yes, now we can hear you. Yeah.
Continue besok. Let's wrap up. Although you cannot get him, he said that tomorrow.
Tak ada dah.
Okay, we can still hear you, Dr. Sri.
Yeah, wrap up.
Hello? Hello, Dr. Sri? Or maybe you can say final words for this. We can continue tomorrow on your topic.
Analyst offline. Okay. Kita report dia Datuk Sri. Datuk, you say that tomorrow we have a special session with.
No, can he hear me? Datuk Sri, can you hear me? Hello, Dr. Sri. Hello. Dr. Sri, can you
Dr.
still hear
Kadir,
me? Yes,
Dr.
yes.
Kadir,
I think we have lost the
Dr. Sri is
connection
ready.
again.
Yeah, Dr. Sri is already offline, so maybe we shall proceed further. Thank
Okay,
you.
I think we thank you to Dr. Sri. We have to apologize to participants. The line is not good on the other side because we have what we call we can get it instantly on his side, but it seems that his side have some technical problems on his line. Anyway, we can continue with Dr. Sri's session tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. So we can have more time with him so they can share with us his overview and continue to give us some of the inside view of what Malaysia water sector is facing and how the way forward in combating the challenges. We are running short of time because of the technicalities. Anyway, we have 4 prominent speakers today. 3 of them will be speaking on subject matter of groundwater in the first session, and followed by the second session on the topic of COVID-19 in the sewage system. I would like to start the first session by inviting Yang Berbahagia Dato' IR Haji Muhammad Nasir bin Muhammad Noor, the Director General of National Water Research Centres, in short is NAHRIM, with his paper, Groundwater, Challenges and Opportunities in Malaysia, Current and the Future. So before he delivers his paper, let's look at the poll question for the participants to answer. So there are 4 questions. Please answer accordingly, and then we will display the results. Okay. Can we have the result, please? There you are. Those are the thoughts of the audience. Of course, we have a mix of audience here. I assume we have a lot of those from the Malaysian side. So without further ado, can I invite Yang Berbahagia Dato' Nasir to deliver his paper? Thank you.
Thank you, Dato' Kadir. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Excellency, Mr. Ambassador to CKSU, panelists, ladies and gentlemen. I have very few slides and I will try to convey within my given time. Next, please. Okay, the first slide shows that we have a lot of groundwater storage. Believed by DID study, say about 3 trillion cubic meter to 5 trillion cubic meter. Apart from rain, we have about almost 1 trillion cubic meter per year. Our groundwater actually about 6 to 7% recharge to the underground. It's about 64 billion cubic meter. And look at the next donut shape chart under the water supply. Groundwater only supply about 1.3%, mostly in the northeast state of Kelantan. Dams for 18%, rivers for 80%. And the bottom part of the donut shape chart is the groundwater usage given by the JMG, Mineral Geoscience Department of Malaysia. See, most of the usage is for domestic, 80%. And it's just interestingly, the right side of the map, it show that this from our flow duration curve under study by NAHRIM, we evaluate long-term stream flow for 60 number of them in the peninsula, and from there we extract about Q50 and Q95. For groundwater is Q95. So what if 40,000 MLD, equivalent is about 4 billion cubic meter storage recharge we can use for 3 months storage. That's the potential of the groundwater from the peninsular side only. And the surface water is about 6 to 7 times more. It's about 265,000 MLD. Okay, next. Our challenges actually, as mentioned by Dato' Sri KSU, is the climate change. Under the climate change, we just evaluate our AR5 or assessment report number 5. By the year 2100, we believe our rainfall will increase about 15 to 25%. There's more water coming in, while we try to keep our temperature below 2 degrees Celsius. This will incur more water and more disaster risk like flooding, and when there's El Nino comes, definitely we have less water. And sea level rise, we suspect about 2100 we will rise about 0.7 meter or 2 feet increment, and from that we suspect more south intrusion because of problem into our groundwater. And next one is water stress. Definitely we know El Nino and our distribution of water. Lastly is pollution. Pollution disruption. Like lately in Lembah Kelang caused a lot of water shortage and disruption to our livelihood. And millions of people, about 1 week, won't get any water supply. And there's a problem, challenges in national water supply. Opportunities, we try to think that to avoid disruption of our water supply, why not we think groundwater as a reserve margin? They say we can use our aquifer to store water. Inside it, we have a lot of water, and when water stress comes, drought or pollution, we believe there will be no disruption to our water supply. When the continuation of water, as I mentioned, is our Q95 and the flow duration curve, about 4 billion cubic meter for the peninsular area, stored for 3 months. See? 3 months storage. And to do that, from 6% naturally or 7% naturally recharge we have, you can artificially increase to 20 to 30%. In that sense, we believe that we have more water can be stored underground. Next, please. This is my last slide. We studied 2 areas for underground dam that we said. Is in both rivers, name is Melaka, but in different places. One is Sungai Melaka in Langkawi, Kedah, on the left side. The right side is Sungai Melaka in state of Melaka. Interestingly, after we do our geophysics study, we can store a lot of water underground in Langkawi, about 50 MCM, which is equivalent about 500 MLD storage for 3 months. And apart from that, because we know we only need about 50 MLD per day, MLD in Langkawi, the balance actually we can use for agriculture in Langkawi, for paddy plantation and so on. And for the right side, we have the Gadik catchment in Melaka. Also, is about 21 MCM, million cubic meter, equivalent to about 200 MLD. If this is properly used and with proper artificial recharge, we believe we can solve our water supply problems through doing this through completing our reserve margins. The differences between the reserve margin of the surface storage is surface storage we use for raw water, and underground dams in our planning is more suitable for treated water to be pumped in and artificially recharged into the underground storage. With that, I would like to conclude my presentation. Thank you for inviting Naharim, and thank you very much again.
Thank you, Bagia, Dato' Nasir, for a very good brief insight of what we have in store for the groundwater sector in Malaysia. That will be the second tap for Malaysia, apart from the surface water that's yet to be explored. But we will have few questions later on at the end of this session. I would like to now invite the next speaker from the Kingdom of the Netherlands, Mr. Hart Ekkelkum, the CEO of Royal Ekkelkum. He will be sharing with us his vast experience on the groundwater with his paper titled Underground Water Dam Technology. Mr. Hart, please, the floor is yours.
I'm unmuted now. Well, good afternoon, Malaysia. Good morning, the Netherlands. First of all, thank you for the opportunity to present Royal Ecocom. Before I start my presentation, I will give you a quick heads up of who Royal Ecocom is. We are a 110 years old company. We have several business units: Ecocom Soil and Water, products and services geared to soil and water research, sonic SAM drill for innovative sonic drilling equipment. The Ecocom Academy has specialists within our company who train people around the world to work with our products. Ecocom North America is our branch office in the US. Ecocom GeoPoint Soil Solutions is geotechnical survey equipment with regards to cone penetration testing. Since 2011, we have established the Ecocom Foundation for non-profit projects around the world to help people with our knowledge and services. Next, please. It all started when we were invited to visit a site in Kelantan, in a city called Kota Baru. And as you can see, the yellow line goes straight through a city. And the issue is during wet season, they have approximately 200 million liters a day flowing into the ocean. And during dry season, saltwater intrusion into the freshwater zone. The question was raised whether we could come up with a solution, and we have some innovative products in the Netherlands where we can make soil impermeable. So we went to visit them and came up with a solution, which I will present you in the next sheet. Next, please. So basically, what are we looking at? Picture number one, you can see an animation of a block of earth where the groundwater flow is free flowing. Picture number two, we can see a sonic drill making holes till a certain depth. In most cases, we would drill holes till an impermeable layer. And a very important detail of sonic drilling is that it doesn't have any deviation. So if we start at 0 and we drill to 30 meters depth, it will actually reach it in the center of that borehole. It will not deviate away. This is very important, and I will explain you later why this is important for a water glass dam solution. If we go to the third picture, you can see that we drill every 80 centimeters a hole, installing a tube à manchette. A tube à manchette is basically an injection tube with windows every 80 centimeters. And by using an inflatable packer system, we can inject every 80 centimeters through this tube à manchette. The picture after number 3, you can see that we've drilled several holes. Next sheet, please. As once these tube à manchettes are installed and the packer systems are in the hole, we will connect these packers to a container with computerized pumps. These computerized pumps have an algorithm. And before we start such an event, we need to do a hydrological, geological study first. That means that we will do sampling to understand the geology, to understand the sieve curve of the particles. Water glass only works in a geology where there are pores in between the particles, which you can fill with water glass injection. By the way, water glass is basically a fluid silicate, which you inject between the particles. Well, as you can see, once this pumping phase starts, every 80 centimeters is injected, and it has a 10 centimeter overlap, so basically a bulb of 90 centimeters. If we then look at number 5, several containers can be used to upscale the solution, making this complete vertical wall. By the way, we're not limited to a vertical wall. We can also make a floor in case we don't have an impermeable layer, clay layer, for instance, to use as a floor. And it also can be used for MAR, Managed Aquifer Recharge, where we can make an underground reservoir. If we then look at number 6, then we can see that once the wall is established, the actual groundwater flow can be stopped This has the great advantage that in case we have a wet season, that the water will stay within the area where we have completed the dam. Salt water in dry seasons cannot enter, so salination issues can be prevented. Next, please. Well, there will always be a problem that if there's too much water, the groundwater will rise. So we want to prevent flooding. This can be applied by using the water glass dam till a certain depth, for instance, 3, 4, 5 meters below surface, so that we can have a surplus flow. It can top over the wall and we won't have any flooding. What are the benefits of water glass dams? Well, I think the biggest added value is that it can actually be used and meander through buildings, so we don't have expropriation. We can go through rivers, we can use it around buildings, and so it's an in situ wall. Imagine that we have a little village with tarmac roads, and next to it there's an embankment with a river. Normally, if you use a concrete dam, it all needs to be demolished to fit the dam. With our technology, we can drill small holes. A road would only be occupied for 2 days. The injection lenses are installed. The tarmac can be repaired. 2-3 days later, it's all up and running again. So this is a big advantage. As you can see in the last two pictures, you can see the dotted line going around existing buildings and infrastructure, and everything can be let in peace. I think the water glass in situ dam solution is a great solution if the geology allows it to be injected. So again, it only works in geology where we have pores in between where we can inject water glass into. This is my presentation. If there are any questions, I would like to answer them later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Haq, for the what I call informative paper and the technology. I'm sure we can get some what I call things out of it in the future on how to explore better in managing the groundwater. Dear participants, we have another poll question for you to answer, please. If you look at the screen. Yep. Such a short poll. Hope you can answer quickly. Then we can move on. Can we have the result of the poll, please? There you are. So 50% looking at 100 years. That's good. I'm sure we can do that. Let's move on. The next speaker, I would like to invite from the Netherlands, the Kingdom of Netherlands, Mr. Goldberg Ising, the expert hydrologist Deltas, associate professor with the Utrecht University. He will share with us experience and expertise in his paper titled Groundwater Threats and Possible Responses. So before we start, I appreciate participants to answer another poll question as shown on screen.
So let's do this then. First, this quick poll.
Okay. Yeah. So can we have the results, please? There you are. So both cylinders and subsidized, 73%. So
interesting and nothing.
Very interesting results. Anyway, Mr. Goldberg.
Yeah, let's go. Okay,
show my. So, yeah, please share with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Show me the presentation. Now, first of all, I wish to thank the Embassy of the Kingdom of the Netherlands in Malaysia to have me around here. I would like to see indeed the presentation. My presentation I will go briefly through threats and possible responses to groundwater issues in deltaic areas. We do not only do this in Malaysia or the Netherlands, but we also go around the world. We have projects around in Egypt and Vietnam, and by doing these things and come up with solutions in these areas, we have knowledge, and we can transfer knowledge from different kinds of deltas. We gain knowledge and we share that with other deltas when we are in those areas. Next slide, please. What I want you to do now is to start with a small, next slide, thank you, to a small cartoon of the groundwater system. It started basically before human entered in these deltas like this. It's a natural system with fresh and groundwater in the subsurface, indeed. Then suddenly you see land use change, people are start active, agricultural activities are starting up. And also, next please, you will see that population growth and urbanization is happening. This is basically still a natural system without any problems, but meanwhile, people started to extract groundwater because the surface water quality was not good enough. They needed groundwater, not only groundwater to their, they want this groundwater at the local parcel, at the local site. And the quality of groundwater is much more better in an average than surface water. On top of that, then, of course, we had created dams, reduced discharge and sediment supply. And as a result of that, many things are happening. There's, for instance, flooding. Next one. On top of that, also, there was, of course, now there's climate change and the temperature is rising, and also maybe precipitation patterns are changing. And that all affects the system of the deltaic area in many, many areas around the world. Next one. For instance, because of less sediment flowing from upstream to the deltaic area, there's flooding happening, flooding over into the low-lying areas. Next. There's, of course, salinization, because when you have less water flux, there will be salinization of the surface water system. Next. Because land is lowering, there's also coastal flooding. Because less sediment means also erosion, so there will be coastal flooding. Next. And coastal erosion, of course. Continue. But also in the subsurface, things are happening. There's, for instance, because of changes of pressures in the subsurface, there's saltwater intrusion, as you can see here. Next, please. And because of more extraction, there's upconing of saline groundwater into the deeper and strong extraction wells. So this all changed the deltaic system. What is important here to mention that on top of this schematization, you will see a thick clay layer. It's called the Holocene aquitard. And that prevents water precipitation flowing into the deeper system. So it's important to mention now that in many, many deltas, this clay layer permits replenishment of the deeper system. So if you extract groundwater now, very old water it is, you will not easily replenish this deeper system. And therefore, you will also have subsidence. Next slide, please. So you see also on top, of course, because of climate change, you see a sea level rise that is estimated up to 3 to 10 millimeters per year. Next one. But also because of extraction, next slide. Yeah, also there's a subsidence, and this rate of subsidence up from 6 to 100 millimeters per year, that is in many deltas maybe one order larger than the sea level rise, and they together, next one, the sea level rise plus the subsidence, that makes a relative sea level rise, and especially the subsidence is larger in many deltas. I will show you the next sheet. Next. That is the relative sea level rise, basically. And if you see, we have not done this analysis not only in one delta, Mekong, but we've done it in many deltas. Next slide. In this slide, we've checked around with researchers from Italy. Research that the land subsidence is a threat to deltas worldwide. Next one. Here you see examples of many deltas around the world, and especially, for instance, to mention Jakarta, you have many people living in Jakarta. You see a maximum subsidence rate of 260 millimeters per year. This is an enormous amount, but it is there because people extracted so much water and replenishment is limited. Basically, next slide, you can say that humans are sinking deltas much faster than at the present sea level rise is happening. Next. Next, yeah. So to estimate what will be the future situation, we use modeling toolboxes to understand the process and projections of future status of the delta. In this case, I show you a simulation of a model of the Mekong Delta, and we use for this open source software. It is available at Deltaris, for instance, and those open source software can be used to estimate, based on the model you make from the situation now, what are the future estimations of subsidence and head drop. And we also, of course, compared it with the data, with INSAR data, and modeling results are compared and improved the model. And then using these toolboxes, we can estimate the future. Next slide, please. For instance, the model can be used to estimate pathways to show the future of the Mekong Delta. I show you here an example for that. We have an average subsidence rate and a lowering of the water level over the past 25 years. That is the picture left. And then at this moment, 2018, we can determine what will be the future. We can say, let's stop extracting because we want to stop subsidence. That is scenario M4. Or you can say we just continue to extract B2 because we need this water for economical development. I can understand that, but then you will see the effect of that. And I've shown here 3 examples, M3, M1, and B1, to show what will be the effect of extraction rates, which you change over time, on the future elevation of the delta. And here I show you that everything what is blue means below mean sea level at the time of 2100. So basically in the Mekong Delta, that means that the whole area is prone to flooding and without any protection, of course. The key message here is that land-induced subsidence exceeds sea level rise, and the extraction basically largely determines future elevation. Even if you stop extraction, you will still have future land subsidence and increased flooding. Next slide, please. This was the part of subsidence, and now I want to show one sheet of salinization. Salinization can happen of the fresh groundwater resources because of overexploitation, and as I said, also a limited replenishment due to the sealing of the Holocene clay layer. Of course, everybody knows about sea level rise and the effect of that on saltwater intrusion, but I think also very important is the overwash of saline water, saline surface water, during storm surges and floodings. And especially that water can infiltrate very quickly. We have estimated in this specific case 10 different kinds of deltas. We made models of that, and we can say now that as a rule of thumb, about for every 1 cube water you extract, you lose about 10 cube of fresh groundwater volume because of saltwater intrusion and mixing with brackish groundwater. So it's not only the one you destroy, take out, but also the subsurface itself. You have maybe 10 times more mixing and saltwater intrusion. That's important message I want to bring to you. My last sheet is this one, next one. I have some key messages. We go quickly through them. I have 9 key messages. I think on the long run, certain deltas not obvious anymore, and delta life is not obvious anymore if no measures are taken, extracting less and stop salinization. I think create awareness of the threats is important for water managers, policymakers, and investors. Man-induced subsidence and salinization at this moment exceeds sea level rise effects. Basically, that means that you can do it yourself, something about the subsurface system. I can say that fresh groundwater is not a free resource. You pay for it with elevation and salinization. And before implementing measures, I think it's important to understand how a system works. If you understand how it works, you can much more efficiently implement real good pathways and responses. I think a modeling toolbox for doing that, estimating what are the effects, are important. Next one. And I would say you have to start now in mitigating measures because it takes time. The results, reduction of deep extraction should be done as quick as possible because subsidence takes time to stop. And even if you stop today, you still have future subsidence rates which still lower the land. Next one. And also, as what I heard already, it's better to save your precious groundwater resource as a strategic reserve for the future. And the last one is if you combine and see all the solutions together, I don't think there's one solution that fits all. I think integrated and tailor-made strategies is needed for adaptive pathway setting. There's not only one solution, it must be a combination of many, and that makes it complex but interesting and possible. Thank you for your attention. Check.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Very interesting paper. I think it's the first time I heard about the threats to the groundwater, and groundwater is not free. And more importantly, we have to do it now, not later. As you say, the impact, the result will not be immediate. So the action is now. I hope all listeners can take a proper action and don't take it lightly. As what we said, we are putting the groundwater as a reserve, and that reserve must be well taken care of and not to destroy by this saline intrusion. Ladies and gentlemen, we have now come to the second session. That is a collaboration is the way forward in the water sector. And I would like to welcome the Associate Professor, Dr. Nohaiti Abdullah from University Technology of Malaysia to deliver her paper on research collaboration between NAHRIM, UTM, and TU Delft. That is on the assessing the presence of COVID-19 virus in sewerage system. So Dr. Nohaiti, please take us through. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum and a very good afternoon. Thank you, Dato', my moderator today. So I have worked with Dato' Kadir on numerous occasions. It feels really nice. Honorary speakers, ladies and gentlemen. So I noticed that I am the only rose among the thorns this afternoon, and it's past 5 p.m. in Malaysia, and I would like to as much engage my audience today in this session. So it is my great pleasure to represent my team looking at assessment of the presence of COVID-19 virus in sewage systems. It is a collaboration made possible by many. And I would like to thank here the Ministry of Environment and Water, the National Hydraulic Research Institute of Malaysia, NAHRIM, for financing the whole project. And then, of course, we have our partner Indah Water Consortium Sendirian Berhad, Malaysia's National Sewerage Company, Suruhanjaya Perkhidmatan Air Negara SPAN, and of course, Delft University of Technology for giving their advice on policy governance and as well as the molecular works that we did for the project throughout. And of course, esteemed researchers from University Technology Malaysia. Next slide, please. So this picture gives you an overview of how might we define coronavirus as a wake-up call. And recently, the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, he described COVID-19 as both a wake-up call and a dress rehearsal for future challenges, whereby global society must move forward with humility. And the pandemic is said to have forced countries to reflect on important values and brought forth several vital lessons, and Malaysia reserves no exception in these regards. The conscience behind this unseen cosmic connection between the pandemic and global changes has mandated scientists and engineers to mobilize all resources and launch a science-based response to COVID-19. And addressing water security issues is vital, and safe access to wastewater treatment and operations is also raising much concerns about the emerging threats from where we pull our daily wastewater following the pandemic. Next slide. So I would like to show you how the big why. Why did we embark on this study? Why did we embark in this research? It has been positively detected in stool samples of infected patients as early as February 2020, a research reported by microbiologists at KWR Research Institute in the Netherlands, whereby it was shown that wastewater testing can serve as a useful tool for early warning systems and to prompt us if the virus might return. And how might we correlate then this report with COVID-19 prevalence in the early days of the pandemic? So this sparks an interest for us also in Malaysia, to really look into how might we learn from wastewater samples that we have here in our country. I know it sounds gross, but ultimately interesting for us working within the wastewater engineering and wastewater treatment. Next slide, please. So the next slide shows among few of the first project meeting we have with our funder, Nahrim. And the project is being done under the auspices of the ministry, obviously, and then it is a collaboration made possible by many with multi-background expertise. We have wastewater engineer, virologists, and microbiologists from University Technology Malaysia, combined with experts from Nahrim and Indah Water Consortium. And then the next slide, I'm showing the conceptual framework, whereby this is the expectation that we should be having by the end of this year, a conceptual framework and COVID-19 protocol, where we can use it as bioindicator in localized sewerage zones for fully effective control of transmission and infection. This is not easy to be done. Obviously, we have the Netherlands, our partners and professors at Technology University in Delft, and we have lots to learn from them as to how they conducted the study very smoothly, and then how might they then place the results that they have in terms of what they see in the wastewater to develop the framework to help with decision making and infectious disease control. And the next slide is just showing the next slide, please. Here, Ralph Waldo Emerson, he said, all life is an experiment. The more experiments you make, the better. And then challenges we faced was obviously the COVID-19 itself, whereby laboratories and universities were closed throughout the pandemic when it hits the global world. And then we feel blessed for the assistance that we have from our partner Indah Water Consortium for conducting the samplings during the pandemic peak, which was about March until June this year. And then Malaysia is also under the second lockdown this time around due to rising number of COVID-19 cases. And the next slide. University Technology Malaysia is ranked number 39 in QS Asia University rankings recently, and we boast a range of high-end state-of-the-art laboratories located in both campuses. We have two campuses, one in Johor Bahru and the other one in Kuala Lumpur, where I am teaching as associate professor in environmental engineering. So via collaboration with 29 Japanese universities consortium, we have our international faculty, the Malaysia-Japan International Institute of Technology at UTM Kuala Lumpur, who acts as the key player for this project, utilizing two laboratories, which is the Water Research Laboratory and MemoBio Laboratory. So the Water Research Lab is equipped with all the high-end equipments empowering sustainability, wastewater and water research. And MemoBio, it has a complete set of next generation sequencing, which is managed by our Japanese professors. So we are blessed to have these facilities to conduct the study on COVID-19 assessment in wastewater. And the next slide, just to briefly inform you about the method that we use. Well, I particularly admire the cover on Time magazine here. It says, we must get it into our heads that our lives have changed. Indeed, it has changed a lot. I think 2020 is ending, November 2020 is ending today, and Christmas month is coming tomorrow. And just like any festive season all year round for this year, things has changed a lot as to how people connect and how we truly adapt to living with the pandemic. Moving forward with the work, despite numerous limitations, we decide on the sampling locations and then why we decide on the locations as such. And then the risky samplings, how might we do it? And then the first batch of samplings were conducted with Indah Water simply because they manage the plants, the STPs here in Klang Valley, where most of our sites are focusing on the research for assessment of this COVID-19 in our STPs. And as Mr. Oving said earlier on, the team is not chosen for nothing, and everyone has contributed massively within their capacity to ensure that we achieve our targets and objectives of the study. And then the molecular protocol was sourced from professors and our colleagues residing in Delft, based on prime research and findings they have already gathered since February, even before the pandemic hit. Next slide, please. A little bit wordy, but I just want to mention that the proposed study catchment is selected based on this following basis, as you can see on the slides. Klang Valley attributed to more than 40% of the peninsula, whereby most of the COVID-19 cases is happening as of March, last few months. And now we still have the lockdown mainly on Klang Valley area. And hospitals, we focus on the treatment centers for Klang Valley areas connected to public sewerage network managed by our partner Underwater Consortium, which were the Hospital Kuala Lumpur and University Malaya Medical Center. So these two hospitals were served by the regional STPs in Pantai Dalam, just nearby UTM. And this combined capacity currently handled by these of both regional STPs for almost 1.4 million population equivalent, which is a good representative of the population in Klang Valley. And then we went ahead with sampling at Sungai Buloh Hospital, which is the main hospital that caters for infectious diseases patients and serves the highest number of COVID-19 patients as well. And the next slide is just some photos showing you the sampling point at Hospital Sungai Buloh. This is about 30 minutes from UTM. And then the next slide is showing a sampling point in Hospital Kuala Lumpur. And as you can see there, Underwater manages all the sewer lines, inclusive of the manholes, private and public sewer lines that connected the hospital to their STPs. And then the next slide is showing a sampling point at their most recent launch, Pantai 2 sewage treatment plant. On the next slide. And then if we can move to the next slide showing some photos, I just want to be a little bit philosophical because it's almost 5:30 in Malaysia, and I must say that collaboration and partnership are undeniably most important recipe to making this work. Just to bring up the notch a little bit higher, so that I will not sound too technical at this hour. So this is a photo that shows our post-sampling activity as soon as the movement control order was lifted last September. This was taken at Hospital Sungai Buloh, and we received a very good sample with very good results. We do not want to be positive with COVID-19, but we would want to have a positive results in terms of the wastewater that we sampled from these sites. And the next slide is showing an earlier picture of sampling activity by our partners in Underwater. So they had to be fully covered because we, at the time, didn't really know what to expect with the samplings, and they are donning their full PPEs, I think, in every parts of the world handling COVID-19 and this kind of sampling. We do have to put on such precautions and safety measures. And then the next slide is showing sampling from the manhole at the Pantai 2 STP and the hospital. That would be a picture on the next slide. Yes, thanks. And then just to briefly comment, because I'm not molecular biologist, but we did this molecular work on the next slide with advice from our colleagues at TU Delft. And then obviously it's the same with what everyone is doing. And because of the closure of most laboratories and universities, some of the samples had to be outsourced to suppliers for them to check the results for us. And then the next slide is just some comment as to what I like in this presentation is the mathematics of life versus death. And because we have this session between Netherlands and Malaysia, and then I think I would like to quote Wallinger, who is a mathematician and the chief epidemic modeler at the National Institute for Public Health and the Environment, RIVM, in the Netherlands. So he's the one who advised the Dutch government on what actions to take to help control the spread of the pandemic in the country. And at the conclusion so far, what does positive detection in sewage means to society? What does it mean to you? For us, the team of researchers with Nahrim and Indah Water as well as SPAN, we believe that the correlation between the concentration in sewage and reported prevalence of COVID-19 indicate that sewage surveillance could be a sensitive tool to monitor the circulation of the virus in the population. And then I would like to end with a little something from Oprah Winfrey. I was struck by the work these organizations are doing. And while everyone's priority right now is to stay safe at home, I know there are many of us looking for ways to help. And thank you. My last slide is showing Kita Jaga Kita, a Malaysian helping Malaysians fight COVID-19. And thank you. My email is there. Feel free to contact me via email or WhatsApp. Thank you. Thank you for this session. Back to you, Dato'.
Okay. Thank you very much, Dr. Naiti, for the well-informed research. I hope it can be extended again because the fight is not over from COVID-19. Well, I'm not going to waste a lot of time here because it's nearly 5:30, but we definitely going to give some room for question and answers. So start receiving questions from the participants. We did online and offline. So I would like to handle first question first to the Netherlands speakers, any one of you. The question goes, can you share the financing mechanism for groundwater exploration in the Netherlands? Whether is it public investment or private funding? I would like to add a bit more. In some cases of business exploration, there is a quick test on viability, go or no go. It's just test available for the groundwater. Please, anyone, Mr. Goldberg or Mr. Hart?
Okay, I'm muted. Hi. So yeah, in the Netherlands, working on solutions and responses for fresh water availability and water security, basically, if you mean that. It's especially governmental organized and for the big national questions. I think it's organized within the Delta program, Fresh Water it's called, and they are in charge of funding great initiatives in making water secure, water availability secure. That's one thing. So the national government is leading over there. On top of that, they have also knowledge programs, like knowledge programs on the sea level rise, the extreme possible sea level rise that is coming up. They have knowledge programs for that, also working together with universities, stakeholders from the municipalities up to national government, provinces and water boards. So that's also going on. But meanwhile, there's also funding possibilities for really projects from consultancies. They support then projects into piloting freshwater availability projects. For instance, brackish water extraction, make that available for drinking water supply, for instance, drinking water company, and that's a collaboration of consultancies and knowledge institutes, and sometimes funding from the government is stopped on. So it's a mixed possibility, I would say.
Okay, thank you. So is there any such a quick test of go or no go with no cost, just to look at the viability, whether it's best to do exploration or you still have to spend some money to look into the viability of it?
Definitely. First, there are often feasibility studies starting up. You cannot directly implement 20 or let's say 5 million infrastructure. Sometimes it's still innovation, and you still start up with small feasibility studies, piloting, etc., etc. Maybe that's not the answer of your question, but
okay.
there's a mix of anything possible.
Yeah, I thought so, because very impossible to measure that, because definitely there must be some cost to explore at least 1 or 2 boreholes to determine the reservoirs and kind of things.
Absolutely.
There's such technology also scanning the ground. Anyway, I want to pose another question. This is from Aisha Amna from UMW MNE, Mechanical and Electrical. She would like to ask Mr. Goldberg, from the presentation, is it wise for Malaysia to move our water alternative from groundwater to something else, like maybe better water treatment infrastructure, example membrane and etc.
Yeah.
So again,
sorry. Yeah, that's a good alternative. But that's basically we call that water technology solutions. So you can do also keep on extracting groundwater when it's feasible, when it's safe. Don't extract too much. Only extract where there's not when it's not possible for a substance so much, because there's clay or peat. You should not do that. So you should basically map out where you can extract in a sustainable way. That's one thing. Extract smarter using modeling tools and the monitoring tools of for instance, ICOCamp, using those tools to estimate how much you can extract in a smart way. But again, I say there's no solution that fits all. It's a combination of using modeling tools of monitoring tools of ICOCamp, modeling, extracting not too much. On top of that, water technology, maybe energy low possibilities like desalination. There are projects over that. That combination is possible, but it's not. It must be tailor-made. Every situation is different, I would say.
okay, thank you, Mr. Ha. Maybe one question for you. What would be the reason to choose water glass underground dam, Mr. Ha?
Sorry, mic off. I think it's very important to compare the water glass dam to, for instance, a concrete dam. As I mentioned in my presentation, a concrete dam has a lot of influence on surroundings. So if you are working in urban areas, it means expropriation, demolishing infrastructure, whereas the water glass dam can be done in situ, so around buildings, around infrastructure, which would save a lot of money long term.
Okay, thank you. For Dato Nasir, actually, the question from one of the audience is, how extensive is the survey of our groundwater availability, and if that is available, how we monitor the abstraction of water so that it will not be depleted, or meaning that you over abstract that cause all those ground erosion, is what we presented by Mr. Goldberg.
Thank you, Dato. The mapping is still ongoing, mostly by Mineral Geoscience Department. NAHRIM only collaborate when there is NAWA program, National Water Balance Study. That's where the ID appoint us to go to do some tests for groundwater well and so on. That's where we do our own geophysics study and we start to know the profile of the underground bedrock and so on. For in terms of abstraction, I did give the maps, presented the maps, first slide, and the map show the Q95. The Q95 a flow duration curve. It comes from very accurate DID data for 60 over stream flow stations. And from the Q95, there is amount of water safely to be extracted from our underground by leveraging on the groundwater recharge coming from the rain NOD. So the amount, as mentioned inside the map, is the maximum amount we need to do, and we can abstract. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hope that answers that question. We are not going to let Dr. Hayati go. There is a question also for you. In your presentation, can you share the findings of the study, or can you draw the conclusion from it, whether this virus is still active in the stool, or it is our sewage system, based on your study, is a threat that can be another vehicle to spread this COVID-19 disease?
Thank you, Dato. Yes, thank you, Dato. A very good question, challenging as well. Basically, viruses lives in wastewater. Wastewater is their food. You know, it's like their meal. So virus eats these organic compounds from wastewater to let them survive in the environment. So basically, we did have some positive detection of COVID-19 in our wastewater. We are still pending some approval from our funders and also ministry and Nahrim, basically for us to release the results. But we do have a positive detection of this COVID-19 virus in our wastewater simply because they live there. And then it's alive. And then it doesn't mean that we have much danger from transmission of pandemic via wastewater treatment plant or wastewater treatment system, simply because, as we know, the World Health Organization has already confirmed the kind of how might you get COVID-19, how might you get the infectious disease from the virus is from sneezing and then not washing your hands and then not keeping your distance, all of these hygienic basic fundamental things that we need to do. It just gave us an overview as to how might the workers take extra precautions in terms of working at the plant, and then how might we then use the positive detection in our wastewater treatment plant as a tool to control the pandemic. Thank you, Dato. I hope that answers.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Neti. Time is really running short. We are on extension of time. Of course, without loss and expense. There's no penalty, but I hope the organizer can allow us for another 5 minutes because we have 2 questions that just pop up. I just go to the discussion is directed to the Netherlands representative. It just asks you, how do you work with farmers to ensure that they do not pollute the groundwater? What kind of incentives provided by the government and the roles of NGOs in protecting the groundwater? So, anyone from Mr. Goldberg or Mr. Hart?
Yes, so we work together with farmers in the southern part of the Netherlands and also with farmers in the Mekong Delta and Vietnam. And what it is just show them that saving water, saving fresh water, and not pollute it, not put pesticides in it, that they will benefit for that. It's just showing in pilots that if you do it now, it's not smart. If you do it smart, you can safeguard it for the future of your children too, this fresh water. On top of that, it should be a cooperation from top to bottom, from basically national government to local government to water boards to municipalities and the farmers. And they have to communicate with each other to make regulations that are fair, open, straightforward and good for everybody. And that is giving and taking, basically. Maybe farmers have to extract less, but maybe they should do it better with subsidy from the government. Then they can maybe smart extractions. So it's a long track. It takes a long time and many years, but it's the only way to go, I would say.
Sorry, there's a question of governance that's been mentioned by our Secretary General just now. I can only allow for one last question, and last question was reserved for me. Surprisingly, nothing is free. I still have to answer a question apart from listening and commenting. The question was posed to me, since we have abundance of rain, 15,000 millimeter per year, do we need to rely on groundwater? So my take on that, Malaysia have abundant supply of water, but what the question is about management, how we store the water, and groundwater is one. We have groundwater tank, we have dams, and how we manage that water, that's more important. But groundwater is always, to me, is a reserve. Whenever there's a depletion in the other taps, then the groundwater can kick in, and it will just put back into reserve, because that's the last portion that we should have and reserve for our future generation. Because whenever that water we are facing with this surface water pollution, and the groundwater can be a good reserve to supplement or to kick in to supply to the water treatment plant, and it will just be stopped once the river water is back into order. But that nevertheless, the subject of governance comes in, how we track back the pollutions at source and how we control, and thereby we can have this groundwater reserve for a very long time. But not to forget what Mr. Goldberg saying, we have to do something here. If we are not careful, we're going to have depletion or the spoil of the groundwater through the saline intrusion and also the sinking. Maybe Kuala Lumpur may be sinking. We have to move somewhere else. We do not know. So a lot of prediction need to be looked at how we forecast the management of groundwater for long-term use. So with that, I have to put an end, because, ladies and gentlemen, there's so much thing to say. We have very limited time, and time is always ambit us, and we have to come to an end to the Netherlands-Malaysia Water Dialogue today. And on positive notes, in spite of the current COVID-19 pandemic, we are blessed and privileged to make through this online dialogue, which I trust have been benefited to all. And I trust the papers presented have been very interesting and give an insight view on challenges in the water supply as we live into the 21st century. The adoption of technology and innovation is a way forward to ensure sufficient quantity and quality made available, so that no one is left behind. And that is the constant words being said by Mr. Hang just now, Mr. Hang, sorry, about quantity and quality. So what we do today is to ensure that there is sufficient water resource and guaranteed quality for our future generation, and we look forward to positive collaboration between the Netherlands and Malaysia. We resolve in partnerships in sharing the knowledge and innovations to create a sustainable water industry. With that, I thank you, and conserve water, stay safe and healthy always. I hand back this to Mr. Al for the final notes of this dialogue. Thank you. Mr. Al.
You are invited to meet with the Dutch delegation virtually. For more information, kindly visit the Netherlands Embassy virtual booth at the Asia Water 2020 virtual event and the B2 Match platform. Visit the Netherlands booth at the Asia Water 2020 virtual event starting today until December 2, 2020. Just visit the website www.virtual.asiawater.org. We hope to see you there. Thank you and stay safe.
Okay, bye. Thank you. See you.
Bye-bye.